Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out Polygon's price chart, and you have to actually excuse my voice. I recently caught like a terrible cold. So again, apologies in advance for my terrible voice. But if you are willing to put that aside, I think we are actually having some good news in here in Polygon. And this, I think, is actually the type of news that most likely is going to go under the radar. But as a fair value investor and as someone who cares about fundamentals of a project very much, if I want to buy that project, I think these are actually the news to pay attention to. So let's break this very important partnership down. And in case you don't know, we recently got some very important news about the expansion of KRW1. And in case you don't know this, this is essentially a Korean won backed stablecoin to the Polygon blockchain. And I do think this is actually like a highly strategic and also long-term bullish development for Polygon. Why is that? I got three very important reasons for it, and the first reason I think has to come down to institutional legitimacy and also the whole RWA narrative. You see, KRW1, it's very important to understand that it isn't necessarily like a normal stablecoin. No, it is actually fully collateralized by Korean won held, this is the key, in major commercial banks. And this thing gives it bank grade trust, and also it will make it extremely attractive to regulated institutions. And this thing actually aligns perfectly with Polygon's strategy as the chain for tokenized real world assets. You see, a lot of Korean institutions, they already use Polygon for tokenized securities, but now with KRW1 added, okay, I think Polygon is able to support a complete on-chain financial system where tokenized assets are going to trade directly against tokenized cash. And I do think because of this, we will see a decent amount of adoption coming Polygon's way. Now, the second important reason for why I think this is actually a bit of bullish news for us comes down to this whole Asian stablecoin adoption. You see, in Europe and also United States, we mainly, I would say, have USDC and also USDT. But in, I would say, generally Asia, it's actually the local currency stablecoins that are really the key to unlocking mainstream adoption. Now, it's very important to understand that KRW1 previously actually launched on many other chains, but its expansion to Polygon, in my view, signals where the issuers are seeing the real liquidity and also utility, and this fits once more perfectly with Polygon's rising P2P stablecoin volume, which we talked about it, I think it was in 2 videos back. And if you go and check out those videos, you are seeing that P2P stablecoin volume is now into billions. Now, here is my final reason for why I think this is actually a very bullish news for us. You see, it's very important to note that South Korea actually has introduced very strict crypto regulations, and they are trying to make compliance very much essential, and KRW1 is already designed to meet these new rules. Now, by hosting KRW1, I think Polygon is going to become a trusted regulation-friendly environment for Korean institution, and I do think this partnership actually gives Polygon protection from the regulatory risk that threatens other chains. And because of this, once more, I do think in the future we are going to see a decent bit of adoption in South Korea. So overall, as the conclusion in here, I do think that this partnership is like very strategic and extremely bullish for Polygon, and I do think in the future we are going to hear more and more about new partnerships coming from South Korea, and the majority of them are going to be in the payment area, which is essentially, I'm gonna say, Polygon's advantage over many other chains. So overall, definitely positive news in here, and these are the types of news and events that we should care about if we want to buy a project and hold it for the mid to long term. And that's why, again, I told you before, right around the lows, trust me, I am a big buyer on Polygon. And if you remember, the last time that we talked about this chart, I think we were right in here, and the idea was that, well, okay, odds are our move down in Polygon is going to continue a little bit more in order for us to get to these areas, and then we want to see, in an ideal scenario, from here a bit of a bounce. And I'll be honest, I actually didn't really expect for this part right in here to play out. But hey, it did, and I took advantage of it quite a bit, and I bought a whole lot of Polygon. And having said that, I am still prepared to buy more and more Polygon if we end up going lower and lower. I'm even, trust me, prepared to buy Polygon right around maybe even the 7 to 8 cents area. And I want to be very clear on that. I don't really think that we are going to get to those prices. I'm just saying if we go down in Polygon, I'm just willing to buy more and more because I do think this is a project with a solid fundamental and very, very bright future. And I do think eventually the market is going to get this thing right. But for now, it seems like, yep, definitely they are getting this thing wrong. And again, for someone like me who is a bit of a fair value investor, okay, this is just a great buying opportunity. Now, question, what is going on right now, and can we be bullish in here? The answer, I think, might be yes. You see, we talked about this subject before. If you want to be bullish on any chart and you want to say, for example, around here we're gonna have our final low, then okay, off of the lowest low in this region, you have to be able to find a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up, excuse me, something like this, followed by a bit of a correction structure on the downside, which one very important characteristic of it is being absolutely slow and choppy. And in Polygon, I think we are allowed to consider, excuse me, let's just do this, off of the lowest low, a great looking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up, a very strong and sharp move, and followed by that a relatively slow and choppy move down, again relative to this strong bounce back. So I'm really hoping that in Polygon this is going to be on a higher degree of wave 1 followed by a correction for wave 2. And if this scenario is happening, what's next? You know it, a fantastic bounce into wave 3 and 4 and 5. And right now I'm gonna say we might be right on the bullish track, but we shouldn't really be overwhelmingly optimistic. Okay, let's just take every single thing step by step, and then if we see some great signs, okay, at that point I guess we can be bullish with more confidence. For now, in like very short term, let's zoom in more and see what do we have. So two very important points. Let's not even consider this point as the low of our correction. Let's say maybe this was the low of our correction. Even in this scenario, I think you probably have to consider the possibility of having a 1-2 scenario, meaning this can be a wave 1 correction for 2, and this move has to continue for quite a bit into wave 3, 4, 5, and then this one on a higher degree, guess what, is going to be into this wave 3 correction for 4, another move up into wave 5, and even that 5 wave up on a higher degree again is going to be into this wave 3, so on and so forth. You get the idea. Now, here's a very important point. If in Polygon this scenario actually ends up playing out, and if you see a good move on the upside like the one that we are having, in order to take the previous major pivot high, which is right in here about, let's say, 14 cents area, in my view that is going to be like a very strong bullish sign, indicating hopefully the bottom is set. Why is that? Because let's go around here. You see, in a downtrend, you are having essentially a series of lower highs and lower lows. And the moment that we get a move up and in it, we take the previous major pivot high, at that point, you can possibly argue maybe the trend has changed. And from this point moving forward, we are going to see a series of higher highs and higher lows, aka a beautiful uptrend. And that previous major pivot high in Polygon again translates to this one right in here about 14 cents region. And if I just go maybe on H4 time frame, as you can see, let's just hide everything. There we go. Starting from the highest side in here about 30 cents area, we have just been constantly setting lower highs and lower lows. And again, the moment that we take this high, I guess that can be like a really good initial optimistic sign, indicating hopefully this god-awful downtrend has come to an end, and then we are going to form some beautiful higher highs and higher lows. So overall, in Polygon, in my view, in the short term, we are actually looking quite optimistic, and we should, in an ideal scenario, see a continuation of this move on the upside. And by the way, I think you also have a decent argument for this to be maybe a bit of a bullish head and shoulder structure. And is it confirmed yet or not? Let's just do this. There we go. So if you want to say that this head and shoulder is confirmed, you need to see a move above the neckline. So far so good, followed by that maybe a bit of a slow and choppy fallback. So if we end up having something like this, don't worry about it, as long as we are going to have another move up in order to take the highs. If we do this, at that point our beautiful head and shoulder is going to be confirmed. And what's going to be a likely target for it for like very short term? You need to measure the height of your head and shoulder from this point to about here and put this thing at your breaking point. This is giving you in like very short term about, let's say, generally a 15 cents polygon, which is definitely not that bad. But again, in this phase, I really do care about this important high. If we take it, that's gonna be a fantastic bullish sign. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Polygon's price chart. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.